Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I used to think silence was peaceful, that quiet meant everything was fine. But 21 days of silence from the woman I married felt like drowning in slow motion. Her name is Claire. We'd been married for 9 years. Not perfect, not terrible, just ordinary. We had our routines, our disagreements, our occasional laughter. But lately, it was like living beside a ghost who still paid half the bills. Started small. Missed goodnight kisses. Fewer texts during the day. Fewer I love you's before work. I noticed, of course, but I didn't push. I told myself maybe she was stressed, maybe work was heavy. I gave her space, thinking I was being understanding. That space became distance. And that distance became silence. The last time she spoke to me was a Sunday morning, 3 weeks ago. I was making coffee, and she said, "We need to talk later." But later never came. She left the house, came back late, went straight to bed. And after that, she just stopped talking. No fights, no shouting, no slammed doors, just quiet. First, I tried. "Claire, are you okay? Did I do something wrong? Can we fix whatever this is?" Each question fell flat against the wall she'd built. She'd nod, or shrug, or pretend not to hear. Sometimes she'd just look at me, blankly, and walk away. You start to question your own sanity when someone you love acts like you don't exist. You start to wonder what kind of crime deserves a punishment like silence. On the 7th day, I stopped trying. I went to work, came home, cooked dinner, and slept beside a woman who didn't speak. My phone was full of half-written messages I never sent. "Can we talk? Please, just tell me what's wrong." I deleted all of them. By the 14th day, I realized she'd stopped wearing her ring. She wasn't hiding it. She just didn't care if I saw. It was there, on her dresser, next to her perfume, lying in the open like an afterthought. That night, I poured a drink, sat on the porch, and stared at that ring through the bedroom window. I tried to feel anger, but there was nothing left to burn. Just a tired ache sitting in my chest. People say silence is golden. They're wrong. Silence is gray. It drains the color out of everything. On day 20, I woke up early and found her standing in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up when I entered, didn't greet me, didn't even flinch. I made my coffee, looked at her once more and said, "Good morning, Claire." Nothing. That was the moment I decided to stop waiting. That day, after work, I called my lawyer. I didn't tell anyone, not even my sister. I just said, "I need to draft something. A simple agreement." He asked, "Are you sure?" And I said, "I'm done trying to talk to someone who's already gone." He sent me the document that same night. I read it once, twice, 3 times. Each line felt colder than the last, but it was honest. It was clean. It was quiet, the kind of silence that meant peace, not punishment. On the morning of the 21st day, I printed the papers and signed them. Then I placed them in an envelope on the kitchen table, beside her untouched mug. I didn't plan to see her that day. I didn't need to. But at 3:27 p.m., while I was at work, my phone buzzed. For a second, I didn't want to look. I thought it would be another reminder, another bill, another meaningless notification. It wasn't. It was her. "Claire, can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a long time. 21 days of silence condensed into 4 words. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I miss you." Just, "Can we talk?" I didn't reply immediately. I finished my shift, drove home slowly, and sat in the car for 10 minutes before unlocking the door. When I walked into the house, she was there. Standing by the counter, her phone still in her hand. Our eyes met for the first time in 3 weeks. She looked uncertain, like she didn't know what to say next, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. I picked up the envelope, looked at her once and said, I picked up the envelope, looked at her once and said, "Here's my answer." She frowned, confused. "What is this?" I placed it gently on the counter. "It's what you've been saying without words for the last 3 weeks. She didn't move. Her eyes darted between me and the envelope, like she was afraid to touch it. Finally, she reached for it, slid the paper halfway out, and froze. Her lips parted. Divorce papers? I nodded once. Yeah, I signed my part. Her face went pale. You're serious? Claire, I said quietly. You haven't spoken to me in 21 days. Not a single word. You walked around this house like I don't exist. What exactly do you think that means? She looked down, fingers trembling slightly as she gripped the edge of the paper. I just needed time. Time to do what? I asked. Pretend I wasn't here? Test how far you could push before I'd break. She shook her head quickly, voice cracking. No, that's not. It wasn't like that. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. You could have said that. You could have said anything. Instead, you went silent. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator and the faint ticking of the wall clock. Funny how loud silence becomes when you finally notice it. Claire finally whispered, I didn't think you'd actually give up. I almost laughed. Not out of humor, but disbelief. You stopped talking to me, stopped wearing your ring, moved through this house like a stranger. And you're surprised I stopped waiting? Her eyes welled up. I thought you'd fight for me. I did, I said softly. Every day I tried to talk. Every night I tried to reach you. I was fighting for someone who wasn't even in the ring anymore. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I just needed space. I nodded slowly. You got it. 21 days of it. She opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. I could see her searching for the right words, the kind that could erase weeks of silence. But they didn't exist. I never wanted this, she whispered finally. Neither did I said. But wanting something doesn't mean it still exists. Love needs a pulse, Claire. Ours flatlined a long time ago. For a long moment, she just stood there, silent again, the same silence that had killed us. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then she looked up, eyes red. Is there really no way back? I met her gaze. I think we both left a while ago. We just didn't admit it. Her hand trembled as she set the papers back on the counter. I never thought you'd be the one to end it. I didn't end it, I said. You did. I just stopped pretending it wasn't over. There was a long pause. She wiped her face and took a shaky breath. What happens now? I looked around the kitchen. The mug still on the table, her ring still on the dresser upstairs. The life we'd built scattered in pieces too small to fix. Now, I said, we let the silence mean peace instead of punishment. She nodded faintly, her voice barely a whisper. I guess I deserve that. I didn't reply. I just turned, walked out the door, and felt the weight lift with every step. When I reached the car, my phone buzzed again. Another message from her. I didn't open it right away. I stared at it, feeling the cold metal of the signed envelope still in my hand. Finally, I glanced at the screen. Claire, I didn't mean to lose you. For the first time in 3 weeks, I smiled, not out of joy but closure. I typed back, you didn't lose me, Claire. You let me go. Then I set the phone down and started the engine. As I drove off, the radio played a song we used to love. I almost reached to turn it off, but I didn't, because for the first time, the silence that followed didn't hurt. Felt clean. Maybe healing doesn't come from fixing what broke. Maybe it comes from walking away quietly when the noise finally stops making sense. That night, I slept for the first time in 21 days. Not beside her, not in the same bed, but with the kind of peace you only get after saying everything you never could. Like your competitors use, with emotional hooks and discoverability keywords,